I wanted to discuss with you the importance of UVB
Yep.
and the supplementation in chameleons because we see a lot of issues that could be easily avoided if the proper lighting was used or if just proper supplementation was used.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
With
always like,
chameleons,
yeah,
as you say, with chameleons, it is UVB is critical. That is, in some communities they're debating whether the animals need UVB or not. That has never been a debate in the chameleon community.
the
If
only
you can,
time your animal does not need UVB is if you live in Florida and you keep them outside.
if you keep them outside, they're getting
Yeah,
natural UVB. That works. But if
but
they're
otherwise
inside,
you're gonna need UVB.
now we did. They either need UVB or they need dietary D3. So
Right.
that is actually how we kept our animals healthy before we had UVB lamps. Is we had dietary D3. Problem with dietary D3 is that D3 is a fat soluble vitamin, and so you can get an overdose, and then you start getting calcification on the organs, and it's pretty ugly. The body does not regulate how much D3 it takes in through the diet. It only regulates the D3 and turns off the D3 spigot when it gets D3 from exposure to UVB. So
Okay.
that is why, even though we were able to figure out that balance and figure out how to keep chameleons healthy through dietary D3, that's why we made the transition to let's do UVB only, because that's the natural way and that's the way that the body can control it to make sure there's no overdose. So uh, we have found out with panther chameleons and veiled chameleons, and it seems to be working with most of the other species, is that a level of UV index of 3 at the basking branch seems to be sufficient. And we tested that by having females, both female pardalis panther, female veiled chameleons. We had them have access to UV index of 3, but no dietary D3, and they laid perfectly calcified clutches of eggs. That was our test.
Okay. Now what? So for those that are using D3 in the supplementation and they have their UVB bulb all set up, how often should they be using vitamin D3 in the calcium? Like, do you feed it once a week? Are you using every other day? How are you doing
For panther chameleons and veiled chameleons, I use Repashy Calcium Plus Low D once every 2 weeks. And that is actually not for UVB or for getting D3.
it?
That's because that's when we give the preformed vitamin A. And there is some unholy relationship between vitamin D3 and vitamin A, which I don't understand, and nutritionists don't fully understand. Even in humans, we don't understand it, but they seem to have some sort of relationship to where at this point it just seems like a good idea to give vitamin D3 when you're giving vitamin A. But don't I don't know why. That's just why I do it. But when you have UVB, a good solid UVB system, you don't need to do dietary D3 at all, at least for calcium absorption.
Okay. Okay. And
And I
how
showed that.
So obviously, we recommend getting one of those UV meters that you could check your UV because
Yep.
some I've had UV bulbs that out of the box are not putting out what they're supposed to, and obviously over time they start to wear down.
Yeah,
But
that's a solar
um,
meter 6.5, and that is one of the important pieces of equipment for a chameleon owner. And they're expensive. They're at $200, and we know it's painful, but there is yet to be a cheaper alternative that actually works. And so it's just one of those things: bite the bullet and get yourself a solar meter 6.5. And